one thing that came out of left field that I did not see at all, and hopefully this is just a rumor, not something that is actually possible for this year, and that is this. So we've been hearing a lot about the Fed in the US cutting rates, right? We're still very high. And Powell himself has said that, hey, we're going to cut rates 3 times this year. And this was only like a month ago. And now, at least the options market thinks that because of inflation coming back up, not only are we not going to have 3 cuts, we may get an increase within the next 12 months. That will be wild. That would be absolutely wild. Again, this is just the options market. This is not Jerome Powell coming out and saying it. This is not a Fed governor saying it. Most Fed governors believe that inflation is still high. We need to have elevated rates for a little bit. Powell himself has said that just recently, saying, well, we might have to push back cuts, right? But hey, if inflation actually starts going up, our cuts really go be on the table, right? That's crazy if that happens. We actually raise rates once again. So something that'll tell us whether that's actually a possibility is the core PC inflation that's coming up tomorrow. So this is the one. I mean, there's two measurements of inflation. We have CPI, Consumer Price Index, and PCE, Price Consumer. I don't know what the E stands for. Expenditures, I think. But the one that Powell really cares about is the PCE, right? So we know that CPI already went up, it ticked up a little bit. Now let's see if PCE says the same thing. So here, I mean, that's the thing. The reality is, I still don't think there's any chance that we will get another rate hike, okay? We may have elevated rates for a while. Maybe the rate cuts gets pushed to 2025, or instead of 3, we do 2 or 1 instead, right? But this notion that somehow there's going to be a rate hike again in the US, that would be absolutely disastrous. Disastrous, and that will send markets crashing. If there's any notion, if Powell himself or any board governors come out and say, well, I think we need to raise rates again, as soon as markets hear that, markets will tank. So hopefully this is just option traders just being option traders and making bets and not, there's no truth to it. But what else is scary is yesterday I did cover how Grayscale did sell 130 million yesterday, increased. But overall, now we have all the numbers. A little scary too. Of all the other ETFs, we only saw a net inflow of basically 10 million. So overall, we had a net outflow of 120 million. Again, almost all of it due to Grayscale. The other ETFs didn't really sell. They just didn't buy. But Grayscale continued to sell. So, I mean, the market opened today already, right? Let's see what happens. I still don't know what's going on with Grayscale. I don't know why they just increased their selling. Why there's any selling at all? Why are they not like the other funds where, they just stay even? Or maybe even see a little net inflow, but it's just constant net outflow every single day. It's getting tiresome. So this is what it looks like. Obviously, we had really good inflows right after ETF. And then recently, things have stalled a little bit, consolidated a little bit. But overall, yesterday, with negative 1.9 thousand Bitcoin coming out. So that is no good. I still want people to figure out why so many are selling Grayscale. I mean, they're the only ones really that's selling at this point. I just don't know why. And as for more negative news, today's just the onslaught. But don't worry. I'm going to get to the good parts. So it is expected that spot Ethereum ETFs will get denied as well. even though Grayscale, well, I mean, this might be a good thing because Grayscale is trying to convert their Ethereum trust into spot Ethereum ETFs. And if history is any indication, that means they're just going to dump all the ETH. And ETH is going to start getting weaker. Hopefully that's not the case. But BlackRock and Fidelity and others, they're trying to come out spot Ethereum ETFs. Hong Kong have just approved. But in terms of US, all these fund managers trying to incorporate staking, so that's going to make things more complicated. So it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Maybe later this year, but right now, it's not looking like that's going to be reality. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know if anyone really expects this to go through this year. I don't know. This is not really bad news. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think the deadline, the deadline is around August, right? So, maybe around August we'll get more traction. That's only 4 months away. All right, with all this negative and scary and fuddish news this morning, okay, what do we do with this data? Okay, what do we do? Does this mean that we all need to get out of Bitcoin and Ethereum and out of the market because it could become really, really, really scary really quickly? Or do we take the opportunity to seize the moment and DCA further and continue to pile on and add to our portfolios while things are cheap? I think you guys know my answer. It's the latter, okay? Because even though Bitcoin is down a little bit, we have seen this level just 5 days ago. This is not anything new. And we have seen many fuddish news come and go all the time. But what you need to look at, two things: fundamentals, okay? That has not changed. And also, looking at a macro scale, all this talk about rates and stuff like that. Why? It's because of inflation, right? And the true hedge against inflation is Bitcoin. There's no better hedge against inflation. So if the Fed raises rates because of inflation, that's horrible. Markets will crash, but ultimately it's going to help Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the best way to hedge against inflation, right? And the fundamentals have not changed for Bitcoin. In fact, look at these two on-chain metrics that show Bitcoin is at its best moment to buy right now. One has to do with funding rate for futures, which is actually turning really cheap and into the negative, which means, because right now it's really tough to play with leverage, right? People getting liquidated left and right. But this is one of the indicators people look at whether or not a market is overheated or not, right? And right now it's not. It's really cooled off. And we haven't seen these negative funding rates anytime this year, really, until now. So that's number one. But more importantly, something else like MVRV Z-score, which has shown tops and bottoms of cycles and have predicted it pretty darn accurately, shows that, hey, we're nowhere close to the top. Nowhere close. So in this bull run, we are just getting started.